By the way, this is an even bigger one than the massive compute envelope, because without iterative refinement, you essentially are violating the core principles of the scientific method, which is the basis for essentially almost all software development that exists today. Welcome to GTT. So MP really is time. Whoops. Yes, I do have my music playing. Oh, I'm listening to Dream Clinic, by the way. Just like big surprise. Dream Clinic is rocking. So you need time reduction and you need quality improvement. Okay, so with the code assistance, you are getting, I think, at least early stages, time reduction. These systems are generating code faster than normal humans. Most normal humans can, I think. And so they have that value, but the quality is real sketchy. On top of that, um, this is with basically the cost being equal. So this is like the cost of A is equal to the cost of B. So if A and B cost the same, but A gives you a time reduction and a quality improvement, we're going to pick A. This is not rocket science. But now, if it turns out that the cost of A is much greater than the cost of B, are we going to pick A? Especially when A is not necessarily giving us that. It's just giving us time reduction, and the quality is not improving. In some cases, the quality is actually getting significantly worse, and A costs more. Like, again, I don't have a PhD in economics, but this is not hard, right? It goes back to, I think, one of the things that I constantly talk about, which is this part, mastering the basics. Master the basics so that minimally none of the stuff that you're working on or you're thinking about are going to have major parameters that are part of it that are going to be blind spots to you. That you can just quickly look at the situation and say, well, this is not going to work, I think, because of these reasons. And keep in mind, too, like as I'm going through this, you may have noticed none of the reasons that I'm listing here are because I'm angry or because I dislike language models, because I have like a personal grudge against them, because I hate AI. It's the opposite. It's actually because I care so much that I have like sort of a deep and nuanced understanding of this space, because I spent a lot of time thinking about it. So I can just think about, well, here are the sort of facts that we have. And again, we could do a deep dissection on stochasticity and the lack of reliability. This also means no iterative refinement. By the way, this is an even bigger one than the massive compute envelope, because without iterative refinement, you essentially are violating the core principles of the scientific method, which is the basis for essentially almost all software development that exists today. And you don't have to take my word for it. All you need to do is just pick any piece of software that you like or you don't like, and you can look at that software, and what you see is, so here, this is React Native. This is what iterative refinement looks like, as I expect all of us know. But we're going to go down this path just to amuse ourselves. So React Native was started in 2015. 10 years later, they're still going. And this blue line, this is the lines of code. So notice that this is what iterative refinement looks like. Is you start over here and it's 24,000 lines of code, which is cool, right? A bit of a toy project perhaps, and it's growing and it's growing and it's growing and it's getting all this adoption, getting all this usage, blah blah blah. And now you're over here and you're at almost 400,000 lines of code. So you've more than 10x'd the size of the repo. And in order to do that, in order to increase the lines of code and actually have the system be stable and usable, you need to have properties and characteristics like iterative refinement. You need to be able to iteratively refine a solution so you can make it better. And I think that that is what almost all software in the world is attempting to do. I sometimes we're not getting it quite right. Like, I don't know that they're. I mean, they are iterating on it, but yeah, their quality is. Again, too, the thing that's a little bit crazy about this, guys, is, do you think that it's like an accident that the quality of the software? Keep in mind, Mentor's AI, it's essentially as objective as it can get. Like it's its own thing and has its own rules. It doesn't care what I think or what Taylor thinks or what any of us thinks. So the quality degradation here from 2023 until now, which is like a pretty big jump in the wrong direction, from 812, as you can see. Yeah, so right here, we're 2023, October, it's 812, and then we just move forward all the way to the end of this, and we see now it's 502 in less than 2 years later. And you know what also happened in this period of time? Code assistance. Ooh. Man, that stings. That is just tough. And yeah, I think it's on summaries. Let's go to. Oh, by the way, yeah, if you're interested in understanding manifolds, which are important for machine learning stuff, I strongly recommend these guys. Where is the link? Okay. Anyway, we'll come back to that. That was strange. Some weird stuff going on today, guys. Now, in the case of Microsoft Visual Code, its score has been pretty not great as well for a long time. So I don't think it's exactly the same argument that we can make with React Native. But I do think that for VS Code, starting in October of 2024, this is the issues. And like going from, yeah, I guess we'll take here from 2,400, we'll say 2,500 issues to 4,500 issues. Again, 2,500, 4,500, and that's in the course of 6 months. October 2024 to May of 2025. That there's never been a leap of increased issues in the history of this repository like what we've seen in the last 6 months. That is a clear sign of we are reaching a new level of bad quality in software that's unprecedented historically. And this is also the reason why Mentor is showing things from a temporal view, is I'm really interested to see how things evolve as is the rest of the company. And we can see that, like, yeah, things are not great, but at least these lines are staying proportional to one another. And then suddenly it just jumps up. Again, this is October 2024. Is there some correlation between this and code assistance? I mean, I think we all know the answer, especially given that many of the code assistants are forking and trying to break off their own stuff from Microsoft. And I feel like Microsoft is probably adding a bunch of stuff into their mainline to combat that or to level people up so they stay using Visual Code, like so on and so forth. But this is a race to the bottom, guys. This is how we reach idiocracy. We reach idiocracy, which is, by the way, a destination I have zero interest in reaching ever, but we're on our way by taking things that are already bad and making them horrific, or going into these other cases where we have these guys that are following a similar type of jump. So some wacky stuff is going on that we should make an exerted effort to try to stamp out. So now, like, trying to close the gap on this, the higher order point that I was trying to make in this is that there are things that we as technologists or as people that deeply care about stuff will fight tooth and nail because they're battles that matter. This is a battle that matters. It matters to me because of all of the things that are wrong with this that just don't make sense. And so I will die on this hill. I will absolutely die on this hill because this hill is bigger than me. It's bigger than Murley. It's bigger than maybe all of us on GTT. It has to do with the way science and technology is going to evolve, at least in the short to medium, maybe even long term, if we continue to go down this path. This is sort of the path of like massive decline. And all the arguments that I've made here, as I hope all of us can see, none of them have been based on emotion or like vehemence. Like I'm trying to overwhelm anyone with my passion. Instead, we're just looking at this logically on why this just doesn't work. And some of these things can be resolved potentially. Like if you move away from large language models and you go to like small language models or things that are not language models, like the Murley AI system, you can be on-prem. And so part of the reason why we're seeing a lot more adoption of Mentor is that it runs totally on-prem because we don't need language models to make our system work. That was part of the original design. Is I was well aware that these issues existed with stochasticity, as well as the massive compute envelope that you were going to have to somehow make customers pay for, because we've hit the power wall, as we just saw in like this Dennard scaling Moore's law explanation, is that we can't make this inversely proportional anymore, or have one of these stay flat and the other one grow upward. It's actually the opposite now, is that now when we get these efficiency gains, we are drastically increasing the power utilization. Thus, the 300-watt GPUs. That's a great example of, yeah, maybe a little bit more efficiency, but a lot more power utilization. Okay. So now going back to the architect of our own destruction. I think that maybe the point that I was trying to make going down this rabbit hole is there are certain battles that are worth fighting, but there are very few, right? So for example, I think Untranslatable Metaphor was pointing out that I made a number of mistakes in the C++ code that I was quickly sketching out to try to show, to make some point. I think untranslatable metaphor is probably 100% right about all that stuff. In fact, I looked through his list and I was like, yeah, he's right. Yeah, that makes sense. Yep, I missed that one and I missed that. And so that's an example of, uh, I don't need to be right. I just want to be better. And untranslatable metaphors make me better. I also don't need to hear praises. I don't need people to tell me that, oh, wow, you're so awesome, Goju. Like, please keep doing this stuff. And by the way, this is not virtue signaling. I'm trying to share this, that these are the things that happen that cause people to become the architect of their own destruction. They need to be in a room where everyone is constantly telling them, "Oh, you did so good. You so great job. You know, you ran that lap around the track. It's amazing. Your participation. I mean, you came in dead last. And again, I'm not trying to shame anybody, but like participation awards is like, what are we doing? Right? Like there's a time and place for participation awards, like in the early stages of our life, but getting the point to where you have adults that are needing to be congratulated for showing up to work on time, right? That's crazy. That's just like really strange. These are just like normal adult responsible things. And if you're in this environment where you need to constantly hear from your boss or from your friends or your colleagues about how awesome you are, that is a sign that, you know, at least in my mind, that um, you have far too much dependence on external validation. And you should spend some time with yourself, I think, looking at that, try to understand, why do I need all this external validation? Why can't my own internal compass, my own internal views of myself, where I'm honest with myself, be enough? And I think that when you reach like the level of people like Marcus Aurelius or the Sumit Gulwanis in the world, I think that I don't know that Sumit needs anybody to tell him how amazing he is. I think that he's gonna go his own way regardless of what other people think, and I think that's awesome. I think that's great. If he constantly was needing the world to tell him that they agree with him, he probably wouldn't end up doing much of anything, because there's so many different views out there. Like, you should, I think, in some sense, be true to yourself in the things that you love. Like, for example, I love technology, so I'm doing this. I love programming, I'm doing this. If you love dancing, do the dancing thing, right? You love creating music, do the music thing. You really love football, yeah, do the football thing. So whatever that is, but getting to the point to where you can be your own cheerleader can be super important, because it will free you, I think, in many ways from a lot of these things, right? One, you won't need to be right anymore, because in some sense, you'll be so focused on personal growth, you won't care if you look like you're an idiot. Like, again, this is one of the things that, like, I love that Sumit Gulwani is doing all this stuff and he's talking about storytelling. Like, I think for people that don't know Sumit, they might look at it and be like, who is this guy? He's like talking about storytelling. Like, that's like some incredible, complicated thing. And then when you see who it is, suddenly it gives you some pause. But it shouldn't be that way. It should be that storytelling is actually an incredible skill. And it's not something to be laughed about. Or, I mean, I think that people do that. Like, okay, what have you done? Right? You're sitting here laughing at this guy. This guy's trying to make himself better. I love that. And that's what happens when you no longer need to be right, and you don't need to hear praises, and you don't need external validation, is that you can start to make sense of the things that you actually can improve on, because you have introspection. You actually have a deep level of introspection. You know what you're good at, what you're not good at, this type of stuff. And it frees you. It frees you to sort of become the best version of yourself that you possibly can. And it definitely stops you from this. Like, I think that getting hung up on the small stuff, this is a big problem that I think people that fall into this space end up being resigned to, is that they get hung up on the small stuff. They get hung up that somebody cut them off in traffic and it like occupies their brain for the whole day. Or someone implied at the grocery store that they're fat and they're like so upset about this. Some random person that they don't even know, right? Like, these are all small things that just do not matter. They don't matter. And they only matter if we give them our attention. And if we give them too much attention, they will actually end up being the, we will be designing our own downfall, because we're choosing essentially to fight those battles. And now we're spread too thin. We're fighting the battle with the person that cut us off. We're fighting the battle with the person that called us fat at the grocery store. We're fighting the battle that like somebody disagreed with one of our points and they don't exactly understand what we're saying, because we need to be understood and need to be right. Like, all this stuff doesn't really matter, right? It's distracting us from the important things. The important things like why language models as a system on their own are not likely to be a reliable AI technology to drive technology and society forward. It's just fundamentally flawed. It's like I feel like this group of people, they are these people. They are the flat earthers. And eventually, I think all we really, and I have to laugh about it because if I take it too seriously, I'll end up in tears, is it reminds me of something Asmongold says, which I absolutely love, which is you can't reason someone out of a situation that they didn't reason themselves into. And I 1,000% agree with that. And that I think a lot of the flat earthers that we're seeing with LMs is that they are blindly supportive of language models, but they don't understand the issues with them. And so even with us listing these issues, it can be hard for them to like actually listen to these things. But what is, I think, starting to happen and starting to change, and it's actually making my life a lot better, is that people are experiencing it now. People are seeing all the things that like we could kind of envision in our heads, like, oh yeah, that's not going to work because of this, and we can kind of walk it through and think about it abstractly. Like, we don't need to know that if I have a 5-pound weight held out right here and I drop it, it will fall down. Like, we can work in the abstract. We don't need to work with only concrete things because it's, we've learned how to reason about things in, through scientific imagination and other things. But what's happening is people are starting to experience this, and we do have a number of awesome voices like Theo that's coming out and drawing attention to a lot of the sleight of hand that's being pulled. And so this does actually give me a ton of hope, right? On top of this, what we're talking about here, really, the overarching point of this VOD, which is, by the way, all over the place, I realize, but going back to the architect of your, not being the architect of your own destruction, it's that we are trying to make sure that we're not the flat earthers, right? Like, if the flat earthers are there, okay, that's fine. You guys flat earth it out, but I'm not going to fall victim to flat earth. And that's this stuff, is that I'm going to fight all these battles that don't make sense. I'm going to need to be right. I'm going to need to hear praises. I'm going to need, it's like a very much about like self-centric and low ego, or sorry, low confidence, high degrees of insecurity. And when you can get over those things, then I think you can start to really push yourself to do incredible things, whatever that is. Again, cooking, dancing, music, art, literature, code, technology, entrepreneurship, uh, you name it, you do you, but don't let this stuff hold you back. This stuff transcends any domain, any specific discipline. And at least in my experience, I've seen lots of incredible people, just truly brilliant people, completely sabotage themselves simply because they become so focused on fighting every battle, needing everyone to understand them and appreciate their view and all this stuff. And ultimately, like, if you spend all of your time doing this, like, you could potentially win all the battles that you're fighting. It's just that you didn't win the battles that are worth fighting, and so you lost the war. And you could actually end up convincing everyone that you were right. But because you spent all your time doing that, you didn't actually end up solving any of the problems that were the right problems to solve. And then you could also surround yourself by people that give you the praises, but they're not the people that you want to be getting praises from, because you're not willing to hear the criticisms and the critical and valid feedback from the people that actually do matter, to then grow and then eventually hear praises from those people when you've grown in those areas of weakness. So hopefully this resonates in some capacity with you guys. I feel like we've been going for almost 2 hours and I've meandered quite a bit, but this is an important one to me. I suspect I'll continue to do more on not being the architect of your own destruction, but hopefully someone out there, these words are not falling on completely deaf ears. Or another way to say this, I don't actually like that phrase because it means people are like not listening. What I more mean is that maybe there's someone that's watching this that hasn't heard it told this way. They weren't aware that, oh, this is like actually a really good point, that if you focus so much on being right, then you spend less time listening and learning on the things that you could be wrong about. Or the too many battles, like you fight these battles and you win those, but then you lose the war because you're fighting the wrong battles, right? So my hope is that at least someone out there is hearing maybe this for the first time or a different way, and it can help you level up so you don't become the architect of your own destruction. More than anything, I want all of the Jeters to go out and accomplish all their dreams and do all their incredible, crazy stuff. It's going to take a huge amount of work. And part of that work is actually, and maybe this is the final piece I'll leave all of you with, is part of that work is not actually in the work of doing the thing. It's in the work of not doing the stupid things. So do the stuff that matters, do the important stuff, do that work, and then stop yourself from doing the stupid things, the things that are not sending you in the right direction, the things that are working against your goals, right? So you're training for a marathon and you're putting in all the time and you're running all the miles. That's all great. But then every night you eat a full half a gallon of ice cream, right? Like, this might not be the best action, given the good actions that you're taking. You're taking the good actions. Now stop taking the bad actions. This is, I think, a big part of how to avoid this. So thanks, everybody. This has been super fun, and happy Tuesday or whatever day it is. I look forward to discussing more virtue stuff that's interweaved with really crazy, obscure scientific things like Dennard scaling and machine learning stochasticity inherent in different model architectures. It is what it is. All right.